Alright, so at the beginning of every class, students are given two things. Here's one item they're given. This is called the Learning Target Progress Checker for the students, okay? So they list their targets, the topic, and the targets, and the students have to keep track of what score they get for every piece of evidence that they give. So up here are the conditions for the evidence and what gives them a highly competent, in progress, and not attempted. Then also there is a final score given here, and the conditions for that final score are here. And the teacher will give them this score. But we just wanted to kind of define what each score meant. So, if a student hands in 4 pieces of evidence with at least 3 being highly competent quality, so 3 of these would have to be a 3. And then if one of them is a 2, then their final score could be highly competent. Now, we already have a spreadsheet that calculates that automatically, but we just wanted to make sure that the student knows that as well. So this is one sheet that the student is given. Then the second sheet that they're given is the grading rubric, which is right here. So the students should understand this is the general grading rubric, and then there's one for assessments, that in order to get highly competent, a 3 for any piece of evidence, they must be able to assist they must be able to do everything under competent, meaning that they can demonstrate that they can understand something independently and use content vocabulary. But in addition to that, they should be able to assist another student in their understanding and or application of the learning target and be able to apply it in multiple contexts as well. So that means, say they're doing it on a worksheet and then they're doing it on something like an exit slip or a test or a quiz or classwork, anything that's done in class, and they're able to show it from different contexts. So meaning multiple contexts, they're doing it on different things or they're applying it differently. In order to score competent, they have to be able to understand and apply the learning target independently using content vocabulary. 1, and if they get a 1, they need assistance or guidance to demonstrate an understanding of the application. 0 means they haven't even tried, they haven't put forth any effort in regards to the learning target or the pieces of evidence. Alright, so from here, what we're going to look at next is we're going to look at how the teacher sets up the grades. So now this is technically not Power Teacher, but what I'm doing right here is, let me kind of see if I can move this over a little bit and then open it up to the size of the screen so you can see everything that we got here. Alright, so this is how kind of the teacher's going to be looking at everything. So I used us as an example here. This is their learning target sheet down here. And so what this does is they're recording what a student got on each piece of evidence. So if you remember, this is what the student's scoring on each piece of evidence that's done by the teacher. So the teacher is going to enter the grades in here. This is evidence 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the average is calculated through this long formula that you see right here. That average is entered into the grade book. So if you look at my scores, right? I got highly competent, highly competent. I didn't attempt that piece of evidence at all. And then I got a competent on the 4th piece of evidence. So my average was a 3. So in the grade book, it's worth 4 points, and I got a 3 out of 4. Okay, and then of course the grade gets calculated, and I'm looking at right now just learning targets, but the evidence, let's just say the evidence that I give is a worksheet. So the students get this little worksheet on adding and subtracting polynomials. They answer all the questions independently, then they can get a 2 for that piece of evidence, right? So say evidence 1 is the worksheet. I got a 3 because I helped somebody else with the worksheet, and I used it in other contexts as well. And then they got a 2 because they finished it independently. They got a 1 because they needed assistance, and this person needed assistance as well. But the good thing is that the student has any they have multiple opportunities to bring this grade up. So I'm just going to show you really quickly, like in the next 5 minutes, how the grade can be affected tremendously by the learning targets. So up here, if you look at the learning targets, right, I scored on these 3 learning targets that are right here, I scored 3, 3, and a 2. Those were my average scores, 3, 3, and a 2. Okay, and let's just say on a project I got 8 out of 10. On homework I got 8 out of 10. In participation, I participate in class, so I got a 5 out of 5. And then say I got a 6 out of 10 on this homework assignment, which I have a chance to make that up too. And then I got a 5 out of 10 on here. Not so good. So my grade right now is a D. Not so good, right? But let's say I change this learning target right here. So say that's learning target 3. So over here, notice I didn't even attempt this one right here. So maybe I attempted it and I got highly competent. Well, now look, that changes my average grade to a 3. So the teacher would be going in here, changing this to a 3. Oh, ta-da! I only changed my grade by 1 single point in the learning target, and I am now passing. So that's where the issue comes in with learning targets, is that they're worth a high percentage of your grade. So if you have 1 learning target that's low out of 3, it could really bring your grade down. So the students need to be redoing their evidence, the evidence that shows that they know the learning target. They're going to have to be redoing that. So learning target 1 is about adding and subtracting, multiplying, and then dividing. That's the way it works for this particular practice. So if we look at let's look at Ellison's grade. So Ellison got a 1, a 4, which is highly competent, and a 2. So she has a 1, a 4, and a 2. And then she has pretty much hundreds on everything else, or close to 100. And she still has a D. Why? Because her learning targets are low. So say she goes back here and she redoes this and she gets a 2. And maybe she gets a 2 all the way across, let's just say. And this evidence stays a 1. So now her learning target 1 is a 3. So instead of a 1, it becomes a 3. Look what happens to her grade. Woo! That goes way up just because she changed this 1 that she originally had a 1 to a 3 in the learning targets. And that's because she turned in evidence or redid evidence that brought her grade up. But usually it's a different evidence that is done independently. So that can seriously bring your grade up. So that's where the students are not understanding how important it is to get good grades on your learning targets and your evidence, because your evidence will give this average grade, which is what gets put into the grade book. So just letting you guys know, giving you a little background information. If you have any questions, please come see me.